my name is Dana Martin. I am fiance of Sean Harris. He was at Hoyas Bird Detention Facility Southwest in Riverside, California. He was arrested back in April, and he was fighting his case. And we were about to bail him out on a $500,000 bail, which was really high for what his charges were. Which is why it took us until about August to finally decide that, yeah, we were going to bail him out because it could potentially take years to fight the case. So I had gotten off the phone with him on August 2nd at around 10 p.m. and that would have been the last time I heard from him. I didn't hear from him the next day, but when I had gotten off the phone with him, I had told him that I would have him out on bond that evening or the following day. So when I didn't hear from him the following day, I thought perhaps he was just waiting until he got bailed out to talk to me and maybe was upset that he wasn't bailed out yet. Then the next day came and it was around noon and I had still yet to get a phone call, which was really not like him. And then finally around 1 o'clock, I got a phone call from the jail and I answered it, and it was his cellmate, Chaos. And he had his girlfriend give me the number since she had my number because I would send her visiting forms and the such for her to use since I had all that stuff. And he wanted to call to see how Sean was doing, and I'm like, what do you mean? And he found out I hadn't heard that Sean was found unconscious, turned blue in front of him. I guess was talking, started turning blue. His cellmate pulled him to the ground, began CPR, and pushed the button, man down. And deputies responded within 2 minutes and continued CPR and pulled Chaos off of him. The deputies then proceeded to do CPR for 10 minutes. They have had over 70 or 80 overdoses that they've revived in that facility. Revived, I should say, because they did not revive my old man. But when EMTs arrived 12 minutes later, the deputies stopped doing CPR, and the EMTs asked why, and they told them it was basically been a while that they've been doing CPR and they were going to pronounce him dead. The EMTs decided to administer Narcan since they hadn't tried that, which should have been a no-brainer since they've had over 80 revived inmates in their facility. You would think their first automatic response should be to administer Narcan, and all the deputies carry it on them, according to the sheriff who was stated saying that in a video. So I don't know why they chose to not administer it on Sean. It's really sad. So August 2nd at 12 o'clock, they had found Sean. He was then transferred, or the EMTs administered Narcan after 12 minutes of no CPR. And he then regained a pulse and was transferred to a hospital. I'm upset because had Sean gotten bailed out and had he overdosed at home, he would have not wound up with brain damage and he would have not died. I've never had a person overdose around me that has had brain damage or death. They've all been completely normal, got up on their feet within a few minutes of giving Narcan. When the Narcan was administered to Sean, that was not the case. Because of the prolonged CPR, he allegedly suffered brain damage that left him with only 50% brain function. Sean was a vibrant, intelligent, romantic, artistic poet, warrior. He was loving, caring, generous. He was everything that a man should be and a human should be. He was the last of a dying breed of real men, and losing him was the worst thing that could have ever happened. He was the love of my life. We were planning to get married when he got out on bail and have a baby. He never got to have any kids, and that was what he wanted more than anything. And we had lots of big dreams, getting our own place and setting up a business, and all of our dreams got ripped away when the deputy who responded chose to just do CPR and to not try Narcan. I believe that they should always try Narcan, with fentanyl being such an epidemic. There's no reason why they shouldn't. It wouldn't hurt somebody's who's already, in their eyes, dead, to try to give Narcan. The only thing that could happen is that they could regain their pulse and be alive. So why that wasn't tried right away is beyond me. I don't know if they weren't aware that prolonged CPR and waiting and stuff like that would result in brain damage, but I'm assuming that they should know that. They also, I mean, if they're not trying Narcan, they're just allowing him to be dead in my mind. And so I want to get him into justice for Sean. Even if we got paid out, though, no amount of money is going to replace the life that was his. It's a horrible, horrible tragedy. I want to see change in the jail. I want them to always try Narcan when they find a pulseless, unconscious person. They also need to inform families, because had his cellmate not called us, it would have been probably 5 days before we would have gotten any kind of contact. I would have been thinking the worst, that this fool doesn't want to be with me anymore, etc. And really that wasn't the case. Like, I would be like tripping, as would like any fiance or wife who's used to hearing from their man every day, and then they don't hear from them for a week and no one tells us anything. I called as soon as the cellmate had gone off the phone with me. I called the jail and I asked where Sean was and what his condition was. No one would tell me anything. They said because of HIPAA. I said, why hasn't his mother been called? They said because of HIPAA. I said his mother's his emergency contact, which should override HIPAA. That's the point of an emergency contact, and I'm pretty sure being taken in an emergency vehicle would qualify as or need to call the emergency contact. And they couldn't really give me an answer for that except for HIPAA. I called all the hospitals around the jail, and no one could say that they had him there. They had me call the records department at one hospital because they said if he was an inmate, he should have been checked in there, but they don't see him. And to call records, I called records. They didn't see him. I then asked them if he had died in an ambulance, would he still be brought to your hospital, and they were like, no. So then I called the coroner, who didn't have him. That's how I found out that he was, yes, still alive. Otherwise, I would not have known. When I called the coroner, I was in hysterics. Like, my friend had to translate my blubbering, crying sounds into intelligible words. It was really, really scary. Not knowing, no one would tell me if he was even stable or in critical care. We weren't able to find out anything. um, until we paid a bail for him. So we paid the $500,000 bail still. We had to pay 20% because it is such a high bond. We paid $120,000 to get out Sean, which essentially was just paying for his body because he wasn't conscious. He never regained full consciousness. But that was the only way that we could know anything, have any kind of say in his medical care, get to be with him his last few days. The jail said that they would eventually call when the condition had worsened meaning died, and a medical informant was supposed to call his mother on Monday following August 2nd. Monday was the first day that we met with the doctors, and they had asked us to pull the plug, which we did not want to do. So prior to us bailing him out, officers, whoever was guarding him, were in charge of making any medical decisions. So that Monday, when they asked to pull the plug, the decision would have been made by essentially a guard. The reasons for medical releases and stuff, like you write like what you want done in a sense, or who you want in charge of your health care. Reasons that they have that, and or next of kin or spouse, is to protect the person's wishes, and having a guard make critical decisions about somebody's life should not be okay. When we got him bailed out and we got to finally get to see him, he hadn't been CAT scanned yet. They weren't able to CAT scan him because they didn't know if he had any metal inside his body. In cases like that, they should have called us, because then he could have got CAT scanned right away and maybe would have received proper treatment at the hospital that he needed. But because of laws or whatever it is that prevents them from calling families, his care was essentially delayed by like 2 days, which is wrong. I think that anytime somebody gets taken from the jail in an emergency vehicle and the situation is potentially life-threatening, or they are potentially going to die, they should notify the families. The family should be allowed to go and be with this person. They should be compassionately released. Which is what should have happened with Sean, because essentially they knew he wasn't going to make it. But no, that's not the way things work. So I want to say change for other people to not have to go through what we went through. Sean passed away September 16th, around 9 in the morning. We had brought him home from the hospital on hospice care. And he started declining 2 days prior and then passed away. We had said we would be together until our hearts stopped, and in a sense that is true. I was with him until his heart stopped. I was there as he took his last breath. I am grateful that he was able to be at home, not in the hospital when he passed away. But I would have liked to have gotten him the proper treatment so that he could have recovered, because I believe that brain injury is recoverable from most of them. And I don't believe he was completely in a coma. I believe he was locked in. But I'll save that for another video. I wanted to share some of the audio recordings that we had taken with the jail. Basically what was said when we called to ask about him, or his mother called, I should say, because I wasn't able to call and ask anything. I wouldn't get any answers. She should have, because she was his emergency contact and next of kin. Let's see, where's my files? 1 second. The first audio I'm going to share is his cellmate telling his mother what had happened, and then a call with the jail. One moment.
Trusted me that the sergeant, when he gets out of his meeting, I guess somebody will be calling you. He's been in there for 2 days. Nobody's called me. I can't find him in a hospital. Yeah, we don't give out, if any inmate goes to the hospital, we don't give out that information for safety reasons. But, well, how long do I have to wait to find out? It's been 2 days now. You're saying it's 5 o'clock. He's probably going to go home and have dinner with his family. And I'm going to be wondering if he's dead or alive. I'm calling coroner's offices. Yeah, I don't know. It shows he's, in our facility, and he has cases with us, but that's all I know. You don't even know if he's alive. Oh, I don't know anything. I don't work this into the week. Right, but I was just instructed that one of the girls took your call earlier, and the sergeant said somebody would be calling you back. I know. Is that 2 more days? I don't know. I don't know how long it'll be before someone calls, but that's what I was told. So we've already waited 2 days, and I know you don't work that shift or whatever, but nobody can call me, and I might be waiting another 2 days. That I don't know. I don't know how long it'll take for someone to return your phone call. I just know that she took your information down earlier. And he's in a meeting? Yes, they're unavailable at the moment. And this number shuts off in like 4 minutes, right? I'm sorry? Does this phone number shut off in 4 minutes at 5 o'clock? Oh, no, that's visiting. Visiting shuts at 5. So is there a better number for me to call besides this number? No, this is a total number for the public. And since we don't know when and if this sergeant's going to be calling me, I guess I'm going to have to call him back. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Okay. I'm sorry. I got the